to introduce you to Aaron Getting.
Boy, Crunch, we've had a long history together.
Yeah, starting from the time I met you at Community in
Yeah,
San Francisco on a Wednesday night.
yeah, I'll give you a little background to that. So I had been living in California for a couple of years and had gone back to Iowa, went to school one year, and then I decided, you know what, I want to go back to California. So I took the remainder of my student loan, which wasn't much, and I hightailed it to California and ended up getting there with just like a couple dollars in my pocket, nowhere to stay.
Didn't you
No,
hitchhike with one of your farmers?
no, my dad had trucks, about
Oh,
18.
right. And you rode it back. You rode back in an 18-wheeler.
Yeah, right. So I hitched a ride on one of his trucks. Yeah, I got there, got on BART, went over to the city, didn't know what to do. My friend said, well, there's a party tonight. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go make some magic happen. It was a community party and I went early. It was down there south of Market, in one of those old wooden warehouses, and got to meet this couple. Their name was Aaron and Aaron, which is ironic, and they go by the name of Dub Tribe, and I helped them set up, and they got in for free. Anyway, Dub Tribe became kind of famous. They did the soundtrack for Ocean's 11. I don't know if you knew that, but
Didn't they do the silent rave where they were transmitting the rave music into a transmitter? Everybody was bringing out their boom boxes, and they got around the Solino sound ordinance because they weren't using amplified sound.
I don't know if they were doing it, but there's a lot of people that did do that. We used to have those parties in Golden Gate Park. They'd do it.
Right, yeah, because
That's
you're not
fun.
allowed to have amplified music in Golden Gate Park.
Yeah. So anyway, so back to the one I met you that night. So it was a pretty good time, and I said hi to you, and then my friend said, "Do you know who that was you just talked to?" And I said, "Who was that?" "Oh, Captain. Oh, Captain Crunch. Okay, yeah, I remember him from the Wired magazine article." So I went over and came and talked to you. And I told you my situation, and you said, if I up there and helped you in Mill Valley, I'd give me a place to stay and you could mentor me on computers, because I saw that coming, that there was about to be another revolution, which is, was the big .com, just before the .com. This is 94. So
And the cypherpunks began to appear with PGP, pretty good privacy. At the time, I was working on a Macintosh version of PGP.
Yeah.
But I ran into some problems with unemployment, especially after Apple laid off, a huge, massive layoff at Apple. Sometime I don't remember exactly when, but it was like maybe in the early 90s, I think. When did we meet at Community? Do you remember what year was that?
I think that was 93.
Okay, yeah, because it was after my trip to Eastern Europe, and I went to I went to the Berlin at the time of the breakup, and that's when everything, it was crazy then, absolutely friggin' nuts.
Yeah.
Talk just a little bit about that, because it's like one of the most highlighted part of my thing.
Well,
It was actually a history-making event, and here I was standing on the Berlin Wall, waving at the CNN cameras during the breakup of the wall. That very day, okay, Honecker, the East German consulate or whatever, his leader, said he got interviewed by a news article, a newsman, and the newsman said, when are you going to open up the wall? He said, oh, the wall's open. And everybody thought that the wall was open. Really, what happened was the wall really wasn't open. What you had to do is you had to go down to sign up to get paperwork to get over there. Instead, everybody just started to swarm over there, and it's crazy. The Kurfürstendammstrasse, that's the main street where all the big like retail stores were, like Sony and everything. That place was just packed. All these little Trabants running around and stuff like that, and causing traffic jams. Eventually, what happened was they outlawed Trabant cars. Those are the little East German cars. So
yeah, the West Berlin side, it's all covered with graffiti and stuff, and yeah, people just said screw it and started.
I brought back 40 pounds of the wall, and when the customs agent asked me,
40 pounds, Jesus.
yeah, put it in a big old kind of like a duffel bag thing. I hauled it across, and the agent said, "What's in the bag?" I said 40 pounds of the Berlin Wall. Want a piece?
Wow.
Cracked up. And I brought this beautiful, amazing hat that I got from Russia when I was there. I got it at the Gem store, which is a big department store in Russia. This was during the Soviet Union times. And I lost it down at the loft down in San Diego. Somebody stole it from me. I really wished I could have had that wet. It was so nice, so fluffy and furry and warm. I miss that hat. So anyway,
well, let me just say briefly,
back to when I met you.
I'm in Thailand now. And back then we were in California. This was in Mill Valley. Mill Valley, if you don't know it, people don't know. It's valleys of redwoods. It's amazing place, full of yuppies though, but still super cool. The Grateful Dead lived there, and all kinds of people. But anyway, so you took me to this house, and it's quite a historic house. It's actually the second building to be built in the area. And I discovered it was built by the Spreckle family, Spreckle Sugar. And it was their hunting lodge, kind of Austrian style, and it had a tower. You could look 360 degrees through the Valley of the Redwoods. And
Right, yeah, the Eagle Cliff. Okay.
yeah, so it was a historical place. And yeah, we had a lot of fun there. But I remember you're talking about the Berlin Wall. You had a closet, and it was full of boxes. And a lot of these boxes were full of people's phone numbers and names written down on little pieces of paper. And you're like, don't throw them away, don't throw them away. And I'm trying to help you organize
Well,
your
that was
room.
before iPhones came out.
Yeah. And I'm trying to help you organize your room. I'm going through these boxes, and I find this piece of concrete in a baggie, and I'm like, Crunch, what's this? Can I throw it away? No, no, no. That's part of the Berlin Wall. Don't throw that away. I thought was
Yeah.
really funny. That just cracked me up.
Yeah, and so a little bit about the place that I lived in. It was a very unique place. It was living way up in the hills of Mill Valley and an unobstructed view of Mount Tamalpais, which is a big mountain that everybody climbs on the weekends. Down below the house was what used to be a stable,
Yeah.
but it was all torn down now and kind of
Oh,
not a safe place to hang out.
yeah, there was a tower. It had a balcony on each side, north, south, east, west. You could go out there, and it's a spectacular house. I mean, it was kind of funky and old, but Rico was the owner of it. He was like, I think it was an environmental lawyer. Rico was pretty awesome to deal with all of us crazy
It was
people.
crazy. Remember that
Yeah.
time they came in and they cut down one of the trees?
Oh, and it turned out to be on the neighbors, and they got in trouble.
Oh,
Yeah.
they caught hell for that.
Yeah, the redwoods are protected, but you always had people coming there and visiting, and it was kind of funny. We were a bunch of couch surfers, back then.
You remember Greg Wilson, the co-author
Of
of my
course,
book.
yeah, Scotland,
He
yes,
was sleeping out on the deck one time
yeah,
in a sleeping bag.
yeah,
He kind of turned his head to roll over, and there was a skunk tail faced right at his face. He very slowly turned around and just hoped the thing would go away. It eventually did go away.
yeah. Well, there was always deer running through there. I slept
Yeah, I
out on
mean, I got wet lips to eat out of my hand most of the time whenever there's nobody else around.
I slept on that couch on the deck many times.
That's where all of
Yeah, it
my
was
friends
great.
came out after going to a rave party. We'd all go down on the deck and crash out.
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. This beautiful view. Yeah, I love Mill Valley. Mill Valley is a special place.
Remember when you painted my room?
Yes. Well, that's
And
because
then and we had rave flyers of Narnia rave flyers all over the house. We plastered rave flyers everywhere.
yeah, we kind of got a little bit too much into that scene, but it was fun. I've changed a lot, but boy, we had some good times. We went out to they had the full moon raves, which were always fun. They weren't. It's not like today. You don't get it on your phone with a map address, which it was all illegal back then. So
Half
you
the
had
fun was finding out where it was at.
exactly you get a phone number like a day before. You call the number. They'd tell you where the map point is. You drive to there. People would check you out, and if you looked okay, it'd give you directions to the rave. So full moon parties were just kind of. We even had some up there in Marin.
That's
Just
how I got involved with PGP encryption because what we wanted to do was they wanted to pass along information
yeah.
uh, about the rave. They wanted a little bit more than just a phone number. And
Yeah.
so one of the raves that Brian Balenberg was the one that wrote the first browser that came out. And
Netscape.
yeah, Netscape, yeah. And so what we would do, we would encrypt the messages and we would pass PGP keys around. Instead of passing contact information, we passed PGP keys around. And on the PGP keys, we had the contacts.
Yeah, and you were using a program called Pine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but just before that, I remember when I first got there, you took me to meet all kinds of interesting people, but you took me to a place in Sausalito called The Well, which I found out was the first kind of private internet server outside the military and
Well, has got a very interesting clientele.
and they had
It was started by the people that did the Whole Earth catalog
yeah,
initially, and the Whole Earth catalog was this underground catalog about how to do everything. They had all different kinds of things with things you can build and all that stuff, and contact information and resources and stuff like that. And they call it the Whole Earth Catalog. And the people that put that out, I think Stuart Brand, I think it was one of the people did that, and they formed an online system called the Well. Initially, when it went on, you had to dial up into it. You couldn't get on it through the internet. You had to dial up. I was running the PicoSpan conferencing system, as I remember correctly. I had a free account. I would host what we call the Programmers Network. It was a network of programmers who wanted to get together and talk about working conditions.
And everyone was using dial-up modems back then, so
who's powering what, all that, who's laying off who and everything. It was like one of those things.
Real slow. It was just, there was no video. There was none of that back then. I mean, actually, the first time you took me to the Well was the first time we'd seen kind of the pre-version. There was some NASA scientists up there, and it was a party because they were going to get feeds from the satellite way out there of the huge meteor hitting Saturn. And
yeah. I remember that. We called that the Jupiter Bash Party.
Yeah,
that was when the meteor hit Jupiter, the big Jupiter meteor.
So there was the NASA scientists there. There was John Perry Barlow, who was a writer for the Dead. He was a big supporter of the Well, big about the cypherpunks, big about the internet. So then they showed me this thing called Mosaic, which was the precursor to the web browser. I was like, wow, pictures. It's kind of like a magazine, pictures and text. That was kind of the birth of the web, and they were developing it.
And when I came back from Russia, I wrote an article called "The Hacker's Eye View to the Soviet Union." You could still get the archive you could get it on the Usenet archive, and I wrote that article. And that was the first time that any information came out from Russia on what was going on over there. Because when I was over there, I was the first Westerner they've seen in decades, and they asked me, I got invited to the Science Foundation there to give a talk at the Moscow State University. A huge ass auditorium with like 200 people in there, and it was just filled. And I thought there was only going to be about maybe 30 people, close circle of friends, and it turned out to be the whole friggin' country. Anyway, so I was kind of a little Mike right there. So I talked about everything going on about Silicon Valley. They reciprocated by taking me out to seeing all the different computer systems at the Academy of Sciences, at the Moscow State University, all the different research projects they were having with computers, and they're just then getting involved in using a PC. And I've been Mac. At the time, I got a NIC system from Autodesk because I was working on Autodesk at the time.
Well, you told me that when you were over there, that this is just before the collapse. So there's all kinds of things going on in the Soviet Union no one knew about. And you discovered that their old phone system was AT&T. It was an AT&T system.
It wasn't even an AT&T system. It was old Stroger step system. And what happened was when you disconnect from the step system, normally your local switch would get disconnected first. But in that system, I would not get disconnected until after their switch get disconnected. So what happened was, if I stayed on just a little bit longer, flash hook switch, I'd drop right into their trunk there, and I could dial anywhere I wanted to go.
Yeah, but didn't you show them how to get on the internet from there? And then that way
That came later, because what happened was I went down to the Arbat in Moscow with some friends, and we saw this kiosk called Email to the USA. And I met these guys who did it. And Joel Schatz was one of the persons that was set up with the San Francisco Moscow teleport. And Henry Dakin, all those guys were the ones that were setting up the Soviet Union link. And so I got an account on the San Francisco Moscow teleport when I talked to my friend Arkady Bukowski. He was from the Academy of Sciences. And he said, "You're never going to get on that system." I says, "Bet me." The minute I got back, within 2 hours of being back, I got on the San Francisco Moscow teleport, and I told him I sent him a message. He was freaked out. By the way, it was like an online system, but didn't think that it was really using the internet, but it was using the internet. Nobody knew it at the time, but I knew it.
Yeah, but you explained it to them, and then some people in the underground there realized that now they could get messages out about how the Soviet Union was collapsing. So they're actually able to get news out.
Because once I told Joel Schatz and a couple of the other guys, "Hey, listen, do you know that you guys are connected to the internet already?" They said, "No, we didn't know that." "Well, you are. You can email to anywhere on the internet." And that was when all that information started coming out about the Red Square collapse, the coup at the Red Square. Because I was the one that was supplying CNN with blow-by-blow accounts of what was going on in Red Square, because it was just completed blackout. Everything was blacked out. There was no transmissions. The Russians completely cut it off. The TV. phone system, but they forgot to cut it off the internet. They did not even know about the internet then.
Totalitarian governments hate freedom of speech. They hate that people know what's going on with them.
Even now, oh, it's crazy. Even now, it's even worse.
Anyway, so you remind me of Henry Dakin. That was another interesting bit of our time together. Is you went and introduced me to him. He had this big old place where he made what,
Yeah,
Teletubbies?
that was in Pacific
Barney.
Heights,
Barney.
man. That was like the bourgeois place of San Francisco. Was for Pacific Heights. That's where all the embassies were at and all that stuff. So what happened was Henry Dakin has got this satellite system set up so he could tune into the Molniya satellite system on a polar orbit. It would be orbit really round fast. It would come way, way, way up, high up, way up, and during that peak of orbit, it'd have about a 4 or 5 hour span where you could actually use the satellite transmission. And they had it set up so you could do a 24-hour satellite communication, and you would record the Soviet news on the TV, and he would run it down to the Soviet Union. They would all listen to their news right, within few hours of when they got it.
Well, anyway, so we met Henry Dakin. I kind of, they had this idea, him and Joseph Goldman, about having this thing called a global tea party, where they wanted to create. This is before they had the virtual town squares. They wanted to create like a global kind of town square.
Was that part of the electronic cafe? And Kit Galloway?
Well, that's kind of spurred off of it, but that's why you introduced me to him, because you thought it was a good idea and I should get involved with them. And then we developed this thing called the San Francisco Tea Party. I can't remember what we were going to call it, Global Tea Party. And we were going to try to link up Sarajevo, which was under siege at the time, through Dakin's satellite system, so we could communicate and have a town hall with them.
Okay, remember the South African guy, Nelson Mandela? And we talked to Nelson Mandela on the phone right after he got out, wishing him well and all that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, so we helped kind of organize that thing, but then we kind of got sidetracked because we ended up doing a cross-country trip, and our friend pulled us into a thing called a rainbow gathering. And we were having so much fun. We didn't leave in time to make it back to the event, which they had in Golden Gate Park. But yeah, a little bit of regrets there. But yeah, the Rainbow Gathering it really showed me a lot.
And there was another gathering in the desert in Arizona.
Yeah, another Rainbow Gathering, national gathering.
It was not like a Rainbow Gathering. I don't think it was. But then right after that, I went directly from there to the playa in Burning Man. At the time, it was about like 2 days before it started. I go there, there was nobody around. I met somebody coming along with a little Volkswagen bus with all kind of mailboxes on it and stuff, like a crazy decorated cars and stuff. And so I said, "Where's the Burning Man event?" And see, "Oh, blue light way over there?" I said, "Yeah, that's where it's at." "Oh, could I walk over there and park here?" And they said, "No, you don't want to park here. You want to drive all the way there." I said, "Oh, how far is it away?" "Farther than you think." And he was right. I kept driving and driving and driving, and I thought I'd never get to it. I finally could see the little outline of a man standing with his arms up like this. I was, "Oh my God, this must be it." And at the time, it was just lit up, and there was maybe 30 or 40 people around it working on various different things. There was no highway system, road system at the time. It
was all raw. See, they were like the Rainbow Gathering, but with electronics and technology. Rainbow Gathering
had a radio tower for the BMIR Burning Man radio. And what I did was I had a light on the top of my tent. And so whenever I wanted to go anywhere, if I get lost, I'll line the light up with the radio tower, 30 degrees like this, and go the right direction, and I'll get right to my camp. It was easy to find.
Can't do that anymore. There's so many lights there now. Oh my gosh. They say 6,000 people, but I think way. Yeah. I mean,
it's still going on too,
Totally different now, though. It was very raw, free. It was just,
you could walk in. You didn't have to pay. You didn't have to pay or anything. You just walk.
Yeah, but like the Rainbow Gathering, it relied completely on people bringing their own food and water and everything, and you just shared when you got there. That was very similar.
And we got introduced to the concept of MOOP, M-O-O-P. You know what MOOP is?
No, I don't remember that one.
Matter out of place, trash. They called it MOOP.
Okay.
A little bit of Burning Man dialogue there, can I say? I've been to so many Burning Mans, I can't remember how many I've been to. At least 10.
I've only been to 2.
Yeah, I couldn't resist to go to all of them as much as I could go to it. It was crazy. So anyways,
I always thought if I went back there, I would want to take a couple camels with me and ride camels around. I thought that would be cool.
So getting back to the story.
So we're in Mill Valley, like I said, it's full of redwoods. We're like 4 miles from the beach. I lived in your house for about a year and a half. And then I met my girlfriend. I moved in with her about, a couple miles. I was downtown, but Mill Valley was great because there's like a square and it's surrounded by little cafes and just the hillsides go up from it. It's a real valley. It's people walking around with their dogs. That place is so much fun and so many characters walking around
You're
town.
talking
And
about the Mill Valley Square?
yeah, oh, we had fun down there.
That was definitely the place to hang out. You got all kinds of people out there playing chess,
Yeah, dogs.
writers, musicians. One of the coffee shops, I think, was the Roastery. I'd hang out at the Roasteries, lay
Yeah,
down on the bean bags. Remember those
yeah.
coffee bean
Did a
bags?
bag of coffee beans and
Yeah, one time I was out there at the roastery and I didn't have access to my car, but I wanted to get out of Mill Valley and I ran across you. You were just driving up the main drag there, and I said, "Oh, goody, I'm glad I found you." And then we hung out together for a few days because I didn't have any place to go because I wasn't living anywhere.
oh,
During
it's right. I moved out of Eagle Cliff, and I was in
that
with
was
my
after I moved out. But anyway, before I moved out of Beagle Clip, I want to say this. Somebody attacked me by signing me up to every single Usenet group. And I was getting thousands and thousands of messages an hour. Because at the time, the SendMail had a bug in it that they could sign anybody up, even though they don't want to be on it. They're on it anyway. They're getting swamped with mail. The Well's got a very, very strict limit of how much mail I'm like, I think it's only 1 megabyte of mail, and that's it, which is not very much. And that's like a third of an MP3 file.
I know. Times have changed.
And the Well cut me off because I couldn't get rid of all that mail. Had to close down my well.com account, which
Yeah.
really I wanted crunch at well.com so bad, like that was my email, crunch at well.com.
Yeah, well, you were kind of famous, and so there's jealous jerks out there who wanted to make a name for themselves and thought, "Oh, I hacked Captain Crunch."
Back before they had the @ addresses, they had what is called the UUCP addresses. The way that worked is if I'm logged into the Well, I could do something like IHNP4 bang toad.com, and I would get into John Gilmore's service. But they switched over to the @ way because that would be that was the older UUCP way of connecting. That was pretty much gone by the wayside by the time I got there.
Yeah, I remember you introduced me to John Gilmore a couple times. This kind of, long-haired, bald hippie guy.
Guy's a character for sure.
Yeah, he helped found the Electronic Freedom Foundation, and
Yeah, he founded the EFF. Yeah.
he made a ton of money off of suing Google for using his protocol for their Google map
He
for
also
their.
made a ton of money from the Sun Microsystems when he was working for them too.
Yep, you told me about them. You used to. You were one of the first people to ever have a job remotely. Yeah, working for Sun Microsystems. You just worked better at from home.
Well, I did most of my work from home, but then when Apple had that big layoff, there was no more jobs anymore. They're all
Yeah,
taken.
yeah. You got a job with Sun Microsystems debugging the original AutoCAD, if I remember right. Right.
Well, AutoCAD was not well, it was available on Sun, but I had my own system. I had my own. I used an Apollo workstation, which is a completely different OS than Unix. And I had AutoCAD on that one as I was working on the AutoCAD drivers for the video cards.
Yeah, and that was before me. And you said you were doing really well.
That's up until the time that Walker, who was the CEO of Autodesk, but I was there as long as Walker was there, he was not going to ever let me get fired. When Walker left, I got my.
You also told me there was another incident which had happened. You always had an open door, and you were very nice and generous to people. And you had a friend come over and say, "Hey, could I use the computer over there to do this little business here and show whatever?" And you didn't really realize what he was doing. But it turns out he was printing fake BART tickets for the subways, and someone had set him up. So when they went after him, you got caught in it too and got into trouble. That didn't help. That you attracted a lot of people. I'll never forget too the time that you said, "Oh well, I got to be home at such and such time. I got a television crew coming over from Japan to interview me." And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" It's like, "Oh, I'm famous in Japan."
Yeah, they did a couple of articles on me, a couple of video articles and a couple of written articles and on me as well. I still have copies of them, but it's all in Japanese.
Yeah, I never knew what to expect. Every day was different up there. You loved your pancakes and your coffee. That was a big deal. Always, I remember lots and lots and lots of butter.
When Craig came up there, he was cooking these pancakes with blueberries between the pancakes. Remember those?
Yeah, vaguely.
And Craig was up there for quite a while too. He stayed out there with me for a couple of months.
Yeah, he's the one who helped wrote your book.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He was my
Yeah,
co-author for my book. Exactly. He was basically cooking some really good pancakes. Yum, yum. Yeah.
pancakes. I'll never forget that. Pancakes and crispy bacon. That was your thing.
Yeah, Len knows how to make the bacon really good here too. Remember Nestor Figueroa?
Yes, I do remember Nestor.
And he
And
was going to have a company.
yeah, it was an NGO. It was a nonprofit.
I would do websites down at the square. There's a couple of sleazy people that came around there, like James or something like that. Remember James?
Yeah, James was related to the guy from Perry Mason from the TV show. James was weird. Anyway, yeah, I remember James.
He was a Vietnam veteran too, and he got injured really bad.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely had a short fuse. Yeah, we were always getting harassed by the cops because we were
Oh
like,
God, I can remember the time Craig was telling me about the story. Loosecon was the loose
yeah,
end at the Mill Valley Police Department. Loosecon. He was really hard on just about everybody. He had
yeah,
no patience. I mean, the kids were doing their thing with their skateboards and all that stuff, and getting in trouble with them as well. Loosecon was down on me like you wouldn't believe.
me too.
So there was one time when I was. You remember that guy, the Mohammed's Rug Factory?
Yes, I remember him. I
Yeah.
painted his wall.
I did his website for him. I was just sitting out front of the Mohammed's web factory, and Luscombe comes rolling up in his car, and he started giving me a lot of gruff right in front of my plant. So I got the phone number to the Mill Valley's mayor of Mill Valley, and I dumped on her really hard about how bad the police were here in the town.
Yeah.
After
Well, if
that,
I found out that was their like dumping ground for like new trainees. So you had all these gun ho guys who didn't know what they were doing, just wanted to crack heads, and their first job would be in Mill Valley, and they'd go after anyone that looked different or weird, and
yeah, they
they
grab your
hated
hand
the
and
bad
and
whole
then they would
bar.
twist your hand in an uncomfortable position to get you to succumb to their control freaky ideas.
Yeah, no, they hassled
Well, what
so
happened was one of the kids got searched. Luscombe stuck his hands in his pocket without gloves, of course, like a stupid idiot, because you don't know how you
he
want to.
got hit by a needle.
Yeah, he got pricked by a needle. Exactly.
Well, anyway, Liscombe was an idiot, but no, I mean the characters. There was homeless then, but it's not like now. They were actually kind of fun, interesting characters. There was the one guy from Saudi Arabia. What was his name? The bald guy, always out there doing Tai Chi exercises. He would live in his car half the year
That was
there.
Sam.
Sam, yeah, Sam was a
Yeah,
character.
he'd be out there and he'd be out there and he would do the Pagua and Tai Chi. I learned a lot from him. I remember doing a lot of his Tai Chi moves.
Our guy always the biggest smile. This funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we go up to Three Wells and dip in there to cool off on a hot day.
Yeah.
Remember that?
New Wells was a little river coming down through the valley, super cold, but it was very concealed. And it was like 2 blocks from downtown, but you could go in there and bathe. And, it was fun. Three Wells
Yeah,
was
and the
fun.
water was crystal clear.
Yeah, you could drink it, no problem.
Yeah, and it was like the local secret. Nobody knew about it except us.
Except the locals. And I don't know if you knew this, but Tupac had gone to high school from there and he graduated, I think, in like 92.
Who? What's his name?
Tupac Shakur, the rapper.
Oh, okay, okay.
He was kind of a local legend, but he wasn't there anymore. But it's just you never know you're going to meet in Mill Valley. One time I
Well,
met,
my roommate was Dan Hicks,
yep, and the Hot
and
Licks.
he had a band called Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks, and you could search for him on YouTube and get to hear his music. Dan
Well,
Hicks.
you used to have a band in the '60s, famous called the Charlatans. But yeah, he lived in the kind of the next.
That little side building.
But I never really got to know him much. But no, I meant like one time I was downtown early in the morning, just hanging out with a couple guys talking. I didn't know who I was talking to, and the one guy's talking about $1 million book deals and stuff, and I'm thinking, who is this guy? I found out later it was David Crosby. I had no idea. He looked just like
Do you
any other.
remember when there was this venue and it was being used by the Survival Research Labs,
Yeah,
and one of our jobs was to go to the venue and put Lexan up and all this protection things
yeah.
up there and get the venue squared away for this big
Yeah,
show.
yeah, they had this big like circus with
And
rock
that's where
cars
we met.
and robots.
And that's where we met
Oliver Stone. Oliver
Oliver
Stone was
Stone,
there.
yeah.
He did the video film work for it. Yeah, and you got to
Yeah,
meet him.
he interviewed Putin too, remember?
I don't remember that.
You should watch his interview with Putin. It was quite interesting.
Oh, it was. Another guy I worked for years later knew Oliver quite well. So yeah, I mean, you never know who you're gonna meet in Mill Valley. My girlfriend and I, we had she was this British girl, looked like Bo Derek, but she had like would wear PF flyers, coveralls, and covered the paint, and then it had these big old dogs on its chain.
Well, she was an artist though, wasn't she?
Oh, it was a brilliant artist, absolutely
We should
brilliant.
also get together with Craig because Craig Luxman, he would draw up these really fancy, spacey posters and post them on raves and stuff. Craig did that,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah, So we started a business where we did this really high end type of paint jobs where we layer colors on people's walls, and
Now we went to the Burning Man.
multi-million-dollar mansions all the time. Got
No, we
paid.
went to the Rainbow Gathering. This was in Iowa. No, this was in
The Rainbow Gathering was in the Teton,
Montana, right?
Wyoming.
Wyoming, that's right.
Or South Montana.
But they had this big forest fire. Remember that?
Yes. So going back to the Rainbow Gathering, that was like 95, 96. You introduced me to Andy, and Andy, you and I, we met up there, and that was my first Rainbow Gathering. It blew me away. 50,000 people living in the woods. There was like two or three rules. There was like no alcohol, no money could be used once you got
No meat.
and the only people that could have fires were the controlled campsites, and every campsite had a theme. So there was like a few square miles. People just live in the woods. It was so much fun. We were there for like 2 weeks.
Well, I stayed at
There
the
was
Turtle Soup Camp because that's the first group of people that I met were these guys from Michigan. Had a
turtle
camp
soup.
called Turtle Soup.
Turtle soup.
I had
And
to
then
hang out there.
I ended up meeting people from the Aloha camp and getting inspired to move to Hawaii a few years later. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
then they had the Sundog Camp,
but there was, you were talking about the fire. In the beginning of it, all of a sudden there was this forest fire had started, and it was just getting bad, and we had to evacuate the whole area. I mean, and there was a lot of people out there who were experienced firefighters and the forest rangers and stuff. And so we were given the stand down orders to not do anything. And finally, the guy said, "You know what? You guys are taking way too long to come in here and drop water on this." So we started a bucket brigade with like 20,000 people, and we put that fire out, and they were amazed.
Did you go
You
to
know,
the rave that I went to? It was at the racetrack, the Livermore racetrack. That was a crazy party. The whole field had ablaze.
no, I did not go to that.
Everybody ran up the hill to try to beat the
We
flames.
put out that fire, and that became kind of legendary. But that really, man, that showed me a lot of about how simple life could be. People wouldn't do bad things there because everyone's watching. There's community. We would work together. If you got sick, you go down the healing tent. They'd take care of you. The guy, the famous with the red nose, would run that. The guy from the Ron
Yeah,
Williams.
yeah. They gave it a name. I forget the name.
So I mean, there was all kinds of things to do. There's the theater camp that was always fun, and then of course the big drum circles and the
And
people
they had the
playing
fashion shows.
all kinds of stuff.
And then the gay camp had the best drum circles. That was
I
my
never
favorite.
went there.
But they had a lot of really good drum circles there too.
You're talking about the main camp, right?
There was really no main drum circle. It was just
Sure, there was. There's that center point where on the 4th of July, everyone gets around and makes a circle.
yeah. Of course, that's the main camp. Yeah, and then right afterwards, nobody talks. The tradition is at the Rainbow Gathering, right after the 4th of July, you're wandering around and you don't talk to anybody.
I don't know about that.
Everybody just wanders around doing whatever they have to do, but they don't say nothing.
Well, they know that people would stay on for a couple weeks afterwards, cleaning everything up, making sure everything looked better than when we came there. That was one of the rules. And that's how they still to this day, keep it going and have the respect of the Forestry Service. Because
Same thing with Burning Man. They had if gotten one cigarette butt on the playa, they would get in trouble.
Yeah, but rainbow gatherings are free. That's a big difference. It's all generosity. And it started from the tradition of the rainbow, meaning all tribes, which is an Indian thing. And that's how it started. Rainbow flags had nothing to do with gay people back then. It was about all tribes.
I hung out a lot with the Navajo people for a while. I found out that the Navajo people were getting screwed over by the Peabody mining company.
So you're talking about when we went to the Arizona gathering, which was fun. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was up in the forest in northeast Arizona. Now that was a great rainbow gathering as well.
I would have to say, I think I'm all talked out at this point.
Lots of good times. Maybe one day we'll meet up in Mill Valley again. But meanwhile, you're in Vegas and I'm out here in Thailand, and our paths will cross again someday. So, okay, Crunch, always great to talk to you.
Yeah, so nice talking to you. Okay, thank you very much for the interview.
You're looking good.
Thank you,
Oh,
Aaron. Anybody who wants to contact Aaron, contact us here. Drop your note down in the comment. I'll make sure that Aaron gets it. What do you do when you go to my website or go to my YouTube channel? Aaron, what do you do? First thing you do is
click on the red button.
Click on the up arrow and subscribe. Because if you don't subscribe, then you're not going to get any notifications for any new YouTube videos coming out. So if you click on that up arrow button.
Well, Sabri Cop, Kun Crunch. Yeah. Pop.
Kapu Kap.
See you from Thailand. Bye, buddy.
All right, and later.